Hello everyone and welcome to Telleries. Today we're going to talk about a new gimbal. This is the Zhiyun Smooth 4. And first of all, what is a gimbal? Well, a gimbal is a stabilization device for either your phone or your camera. It could be a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Now, this basically helps you get clean, smooth, shudder-free images and videos for your footage. The Zhiyun Smooth 4 is a gimbal that's about approximately 2 years old now, and it has a lot of features in it that many other gimbals do and don't have. But this is a gimbal that is more for people who like everything in their control, who like to have all the aspects of videography in their control, including the exposure, the focus, all of that can be controlled manually in this. And the best part of it is that all of this, as you can see, has buttons. It's got a number of buttons on it. So you have the first power button here, you have another button over here, actually a toggle button here, which is basically, if you can see, it is a pan follow and a lock button. So we'll go more into detail what pan follow and lock is. We're now going to look at how we stabilize a gimbal. First of all, it's in right now standby or locked mode or power off mode. So before you power it on, in the locked mode, put your mobile phone inside. Yeah. Then you unlock it. When you unlock it, you will see that it is not balanced. So it's off balance now. So when it's off balance, you need to balance the phone. First thing before switching on the gimbal, you need to balance the phone. So you have a button over here, or you have a knob over here where you can release it and you can move this. So when you move this, you are going to balance the phone on the gimbal. So it's more or less balanced now. I would consider this balanced. Now you tighten this and make sure it's locked. Once the phone's balanced on the gimbal, then you have to press the power button for a couple of seconds and it'll switch on and the phone's balanced now. Now the motors are on, as you can see. Now right now it is in pan follow mode. So you can see I am panning, it's following me. But when I go up and down, the tilt is locked. So it stays there. It stays stable on the horizon. Now if I want to, now there's another button over here that's called, right now it's in pan follow. And then you can change it to lock mode. When you change it to lock mode, even the pan doesn't happen. See? I go left and right, I pan it, it stays stable. Up and down, it stays stable. So, and you can go back to pan follow and it follows again. Now, how do you go up and down on this? Now there is a button, there are two trigger buttons at the back of the gimbal. You press the bottom trigger button, you are able to go for the tilt also. It tilts up and down also with you. Along with the pan, it does the tilt also. Now say for example you find something interesting suddenly and there's a fast moving object and you want to capture that on film. You have the second trigger button on top, which is called the phone go mode. So just look at the difference. Right now it's doing this. Now when I press the phone go mode, it becomes very quick. It immediately catches on. So you are able to capture images or moving images really quickly. Let go and it goes back to the normal pan follow mode. The other thing is, if you are filming something on top and you shift the phone up and you let go of the trigger button, it stays right there. So if you're filming trees, treetops or buildings, skyscrapers, you can use this mode. And if you wanted to center it back again, this button, the bottom trigger button, double click it twice, and it centers back again. So that is very convenient. So you want to pan it down, it stays there. So it continues to stay over there. Pan, double clicking again, and it centers back again. And the other feature you have on this is a low mode, which you can go completely down and it stays there. See? It stays low, come back up, stays up. And you want to turn it around, you can do this. This is the other low mode that you can go through. And go back again. It centers in again. So then you have the menu button here, a display button. You have the switching button from selfie mode to the back camera and the back camera selfie. You have the exposure adjustment over here, and you have the play button over here. This is all part of the center wheel console. The play button, when you are in the Zyplay app, when you press this button down here, you will go into the menu of all the videos that you've done, so you can play back. This button over here on the left switches from the selfie to the back camera. This button over here goes to the resolution mode, goes to either 4K, 1080p or 720p. All of it is available only in 30 FPS. Then you have this mode over here, which is the plus and minus, which is the exposure mode. You can adjust the exposure on the fly here by pressing that button. And all of these buttons work only in the Zyplay app. The buttons that work outside of the Zyplay app, these two buttons over here, the trigger buttons here, the power button, the pan follow, and the lock mode. That's about it. So you have this button over here, which is like a trigger button, but this is a toggle button between this wheel becoming a zoom wheel and a focus wheel. So you press it once, it becomes a zoom wheel, the next press becomes a focus wheel. And this works only in the Zhiyun app, or the Zyplay app, and the Filmic Pro app. Now this button over here is the photo button. So you click it, you get photos done from your phone. This button over here is the flashlight button. So when you are filming, you can press this button and the flashlight turns on from your phone. So if you're filming in some dark environment, you can just press this and it switches on the flashlight at the back. But this is a gimbal that's compatible with even an app called the Filmic Pro app. There are very few gimbals that are compatible with the Filmic Pro app. This happens to be one of them. And you have the DJI Osmo 1, 2, 3 and 4 are now compatible with the Filmic Pro app. When you're done with your filming, put it back on the tripod, go back to the power button, press the power button for a couple of seconds, and it powers down. And once it's done, lock it in mode and take out the phone, and you're done. So it's a very handy gimbal that way. It's quite heavy. One thing you have to understand about a gimbal is the heavier it is, the more stable it is. So yes, this is reasonably heavy that way, and the materials used are pretty good. It is plastic and metal. The top part of this is all metal, and this is plastic. This is the review of the Zhiyun Smooth 4. I would suggest it for people who are looking at having complete control of their filmmaking. You have other gimbals that are out there which make it easier. You have joysticks. Most gimbals nowadays come with a joystick button over here. But this is just a different way of filming. You have to get used to this. If you already have a gimbal that has a joystick, you have to get used to the way of filming over here. There's nothing wrong with this, but it's different. Now we're going to see how the Zyplay app works. First you click the icon of the Zyplay app. then it'll open up the app, and when you press the connect device, it will ask you to switch on the location and the Bluetooth. So you go ahead and give access to the location and Bluetooth, and when you go back to the app, it'll search for the device, and once it finds the device, it will just press enter and you can go into the app. Now inside the app there are a lot of features that you can access, and we will go through it one by one. Now the first thing we're doing right now is going through the zoom feature. So remember the wheel, the zoom wheel, as you rotate it you can zoom in and you can zoom out, as you can see. Then when you press the trigger button, which I told you about before, you can change the focus here. So as you can see, you can change the focus to an object that's close by, and without moving the phone you can change the focus to the object that's far away also, and that gives you a lot of interesting creative ways to do filmmaking. Next, you can click on the menu button, and when you click on the menu button you get the list of options there. Go to the camera and you have all these aspects. You have the panorama, you have 3x3, 180 degrees pano shots, you have the vertigo. We will go into details about that later. Then you have in flash, you can switch on the flash, you can keep it on, you can keep it on auto. Then you have the timer, which can go up to 10 seconds. Then you have the HDR mode, which can be switched on or switched off for high dynamic range for your videography or shooting. And then you have the white balance, so you can change the white balance. You have preset white balances that you can change to depending on what type of filming you want to do. Then you have the resolution, which is, like I told you before, 4K, 1080p and 720p all in 30 frames per second. Then you have the manual mode. You can switch on the manual mode. That is something that you can do to have complete control over your filmmaking. Then you have the scene mode, where you can, and in scene you have walking, you have motion, and you have follow mode. And in filters, again, you have a number of filters that you can change, and whatever suits your filming mode at that point of time, you can change it. And then you have the settings, and once you go into the settings mode, you have video quality, which you can do, you can change from quality to excellent to equilibrium to optimized, whichever suits you best. Then you have the panoramic shots, where you can use the panorama for 30 seconds or however long you want. You have image stabilization, you have you can switch it on and off. You have the grid, different grid aspects for different types of filming. Then you have camera modes, which can be either in pro or original mode. The original mode does not give you much access to the gimbal. Most of the buttons on the gimbal don't really work. You have to access this by tapping on the screen. The zoom button obviously works, but the rest of the buttons you need to actually tap on your phone screen and access those buttons, which is not exactly very convenient. So let's go back to the pro mode. So next, let's see how the face tracking mode works. Now the face tracking is not exactly very good in the Zyplay app. It's got a number of problems. So say for example, I take the mouse and I draw a box around it on my phone screen. Now it has captured that is the object to be tracked, and as you can see, it's moving along with the mouse, but the software is not that great, so it keeps losing track of the object. So as you can see, I have to be very slow, very careful about how I move, and then it starts to lose focus on the object, and as you can see, fails. Please try again. So this is something that is a problem with the Zyplay app. They have unfortunately not updated their app. Next, you can see when you press the center button, which is the flashlight button, and when I switch it on, the phone's flashlight switches on. So you can use that in any dark environments when you're filming. So next we're going to see the slow motion mode. Unfortunately, the slow motion also has a little bit of an issue. As you can see, it's very choppy. You can still use the slow motion mode on your phone, which will be very smooth, 30, 60, 240 frames per second. But unfortunately over here, it's very choppy. The frames are very choppy. Next is the dolly zoom, called the vertigo in the app. You have this option where you can set the zoom in and zoom out space. So as you can see, you walk towards when you zoom out and you walk away from when you zoom in. This is the kind of effect that you get. Now I'm going to show you the stability of the gimbal. First, what we're doing right now is called a hard walk, like a normal walk. As you can see, there's a slight bobbing effect to it, but otherwise it's pretty stable. Next we'll do a ninja walk, where your knees are bent and you are holding the gimbal in both your hands and going slowly forward, trying to keep it as stable as possible. This gives you an extremely stable and smooth video. Next we're going to do a full-on run, and you can see how stable the video is even when I'm running full speed. So this is what a gimbal lets you do. One thing you have to be aware of is that in your wide angle lens, you are going to be able to see the motor of the gimbal in your video. So the easiest thing to do is to just hold it in the flashlight position, and the motor will go out of view. And then there is time lapse and there is motion time lapse. This is the 3x3 panorama shot and the 180 degrees panorama shot. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.